SpaceX launch of Starship a success despite explosion minutes after takeoff. SpaceX Starship launch on the first of many test flights it will undergo before it is ready to ferry astronauts to the moon. SpaceX Starship, the largest and most powerful rocket ever built, has blasted off from its Texas launch pad. Despite exploding minutes after liftoff, the first of its kind flight has been hailed a success by the company. Starship launched from a SpaceX launch pad in Boca Chica, Texas today, April 20th, atop the company's Super Heavy booster rocket, whose 33 Raptor 2 engines carry the vehicle into the stratosphere with a record-breaking 16.5 million pounds of thrust. Shortly after liftoff, an issue with the separation mechanism between the rocket's two stages caused it to underspin and exploded just minutes later. As if the flight test was not exciting enough, Starship experienced a rapid and scheduled disassembly before stage separation, Sachs wrote on Twitter. The launch is the first test of the rocket system that SpaceX has said it will use to transport crews, spacecraft, and satellites and cargo to locations in the solar system, both for its purposes and on behalf of NASA. The U.S. Space Agency is slated to use Starship's human landing system to transport humans to the moon's surface for the first time since 1972 on the Artemis 3 and 4 missions. Now that the spaceship has shown it can fly, SpaceX intends to send another Starship into low Earth orbit with the crew on board by the end of the year, but how much the separation mechanism issue will delay or alter these plans is unknown. A 394 feet tall Starship is roughly the length of 3 passenger jets and 30 feet taller than Saturn V rocket that first sent the Apollo 11 astronauts to the moon in 1969. Starship is also more than twice as powerful as Saturn V, which is propelled itself with 7.6 million pounds of thrust. Let's watch this. Oh my god, it's like 53 minutes. Watch it the whole, so I just
of magnitude greater in terms of the payload
Here's
capacity.
Like countdown of their
Now for today's test, we will
Starship. Starship is designed primarily with cheap and efficient manufacturing in mind, using inexpensive stainless steel for its construction and methane, which SpaceX can be collected on Mars to power the rocket. It is designed to be reusable and can carry a payload of up to 255 tons in its non-reusable state, around 10 times of SpaceX's current Falcon 9 rockets. This was the rocket's second attempt at taking off. During the first attempt on Monday, April 17th, the rocket was fueled and re-added, but the launch was stopped with 9 minutes left on the block after a frozen valve caused pressurization problems in the Super Heavy booster. On Sunday, April 16th, Musk lowered expectations for the upcoming launch, warning in a Twitter discussion that many problems could arise and that he would consider it a success if the launch didn't blow up the launch pad. Success is not what should be expected, he said ahead of Monday's scrapped launch. It may take us a few kicks of a can here before we reach orbit. Okay, so I'll read it, and it is successfully launched, isn't it? So let me check another news. Octopus torture and eat themselves. What? Really? Oh my god, it's horrible. Let me read. Octopuses torture and eat themselves after mating. Scientists finally know why. Oh, science finally knows why. She even eats pieces of her own arms. Many animal species die after they reproduce, but in octopus mothers, this decline is particularly alarming. In most species, as an octopus mother eggs get close to hatching, she stops eating. Then she leaves her protective huddle over her brood and becomes bent on self-destruction. She might beat herself against a rock, tear at her own skin, even eat pieces of her own arms. Now, researchers have discovered that chemicals that seem to control this fatal frenzy. As an octopus lays eggs, she undergoes changes in the production and use of cholesterol in her body, which in turn increases her production of steroid hormones, a biochemical shift that will doom her. Some of the changes may hint at processes that explain longevity in invertebrates more generally, said Zijian Wang, a scientist professor of psychology and biology at the University of Washington. Now that we have these pathways, we're really interested to link them to individual behaviors or even individual differences in how animals express these behaviors. Wang told Life Science program to die. Even as an English major undergraduate student, Wang was intrigued by female reproduction. She said when she transitioned into graduate school in science, she kept that interest and was struck by the dramatic deaths of octopus mothers after they laid their eggs. No one knows the purpose of the behavior. Theories include the idea that dramatic death displays draw predators away from eggs, or that the mother's body releases nutrients into the water that nurture the eggs. Most likely, Wang said, the diet protects the babies from the older generation. Octopus are cannibals, she said, and if older octopuses stuck around, they might end up eating all of each other's young. A 1975 study by Brandeis University psychologist Jerome Wiedeski found the mechanism behind the self-destruction lay in the optic glands, a set of glands near the octopus eyes that is roughly equivalent to the pituitary gland in humans. If the nerve to the optic gland was cut, Wiedeski found, the mother octopuses would abandon her eggs, start eating again and live for another 4 to 6 months. That's an impressive life extension for creatures that live only about a year. But no one knew what the optic gland was doing to control this cascade of self-injury. From the very beginning, I was really keen to do the experiments that we outlined in the paper which was published, which is essentially juicing the optic gland and identifying the components of that juice, Wang said. Wang and her colleagues analyzed the chemicals produced in the optic glands of California two-spot octopus, said that they laid eggs. In 2018, a genetic analysis of the same species showed that after egg laying, the genes in the optic glands that produce steroid hormones, which are built in part with cholesterol components, start going into overdrive. With that study as a guidepost, the scientists focused on the steroids and related chemicals produced by the optic glands in the two-spot octopuses. Fatal changes. They found 3 separate chemical shifts that occurred around the time the octopus mother laid her eggs. The first were a rise in pregnenolone and progesterone, 2 hormones associated with reproduction in a host of creatures. The second shift was more surprising. The octopus mothers began to produce higher levels of a building block of cholesterol called 7-dehydrocholesterol or 7-DHC. Humans produce 7-DHC in the process of making cholesterol too, but they don't keep any of these systems for long. The compound is toxic. In fact, infants born with the genetic disorder Smith-Lemmy Opus syndrome can clear 7-DHC. The result is intellectual disability, behavioral problems including self-harm, and physical abnormalities like extra fingers and toes and left palate. Finally, the optic glands also began producing more components for bile acid, which acids may be delivered in humans and other animals. Octopuses don't have the same kind of bile acids in mammals, but they do apparently make the building blocks for those bile acids. The bile acid components are intriguing, Wang said, because a similar set of acids have been shown to control the lifespan of the worm Caenorhabditis elegans, which is commonly used in scientific research because it's of its simplicity. It may be that the bile acid components are important for controlling longevity across invertebrate species, Wang said. Octopuses are hard to study in captivity because they require a lot of space and perfect conditions for them to grow to sexual maturity and breed. Wang and other octopuses researchers have now worked out a way to keep the lesser Pacific striped octopus alive and breeding in the lab. Unlike most other octopus species, Pacific striped octopuses can make multiple times and brood multiple clutches of eggs. They don't self-destruct as the eggs get ready to hatch, making them perfect specimens for studying the origin of the morbid behavior. I am really excited to study the dynamics of the optic gland in that species, Wang said. The researchers published in their findings May 12th in the journal Current Biology, originally published on Life Science. And that's it for today's video. If you have any more questions, just comment down below relating to these new